The warning lights flashed red across Luna's station's communication deck. Jake Harrison rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the screen again. 3 days of monitoring deep space frequencies had yielded nothing but static and solar interference. Now, something was different. "Commander, we're getting something strange," called out Lisa Carter from her workstation. The young scientist had been Earth's top expert in theoretical alien languages for 5 years, even though no alien had ever been found. "This isn't natural noise." Jake walked over to her console. The display showed wave patterns that pulsed with deliberate rhythm. Someone or something was trying to communicate. His heart began to race. After decades of searching the stars, humanity might finally have proof they weren't alone. "Can you decode it?" he asked. Lisa's fingers flew across her keyboard. She had spent years creating translation protocols for hypothetical alien contact. Now, those theories were being put to the test. "It's using mathematical sequences as a base. Give me 20 minutes. 20 minutes turned into 2 hours. Jake paced the communications bay while Lisa worked frantically with her team. Other station personnel gathered around, sensing that something important was happening. The routine monitoring shift was becoming the most significant moment in human history. "I've got it," Lisa finally announced. Her voice was shaking. "Commander, this is a distress call." The main screen flickered to life with translated text. Jake read the words aloud, his voice growing more serious with each line. "Emergency transmission from the Furian Colony Administrative Unit 7. We are under attack. Coretec Imperial Fleet has blockaded our system. 3 million civilian lives at risk. Request immediate assistance from Altarian Defense Coalition." The room fell silent. Jake stared at the message, trying to process what he was reading. Alien species, interstellar wars, millions of lives hanging in the balance, and somehow this desperate plea had reached Earth. "There's more," Lisa said quietly. She pulled up additional data. According to their star charts, they meant to send this to something called the Altarian Defense Coalition, but there was an error in their transmission. The signal got redirected to our solar system instead. Jake looked at the technical details Lisa had decoded. The aliens had included their location, tactical situation, and timeline. The Furians were trapped on a mining world called Kepler 44c. Enemy warships surrounded their planet, cutting off all escape routes. The attacking force belonged to something called the Coretec Empire, described as slavers and raiders. "How long do they have?" Jake asked. "According to this, maybe 72 hours before the final assault begins," Lisa replied. "Commander, these people are going to die, and their own allies don't even know they need help." Jake studied the star charts. Kepler 44c was incredibly far away, well beyond anything humans had ever attempted to reach. Even with their fastest experimental ships, the journey would take days. But as he read the desperate words again, he knew what had to be done. "Get me Admiral Peterson," he ordered. "Priority channel." Admiral Roy Peterson had been expecting this call ever since the Deep Space Monitoring Program began. Every military leader on Earth knew that first contact with aliens would eventually happen, but no one had prepared for it to begin with a cry for help from strangers. "Admiral, we have a situation," Jake began, then transmitted all the decoded information. Peterson read through the data twice before responding. The tactical situation was clear enough. Unknown alien species under attack by hostile forces, no time for lengthy diplomatic protocols or careful first contact procedures. People were dying while Earth's leaders debated. "Commander Harrison, how certain are we about this translation?" "Dr. Carter is confident in the basic message, sir. The mathematics check out. The star positions are accurate. This is real." Peterson closed his eyes and made the decision that would change everything. As a military man, he understood duty. As a human being, he understood that some things were more important than caution. 3 million lives hung in the balance. "Prepare a response transmission," Peterson ordered. "Tell them help is coming." Lisa looked uncertain. "Admiral, what should we tell them about ourselves? They don't know anything about Earth or humans." "Keep it simple. Tell them to hold their position and that assistance is en route. Don't mention that we've never left our own solar system before." The response message was transmitted within the hour, simple, direct, and carrying the weight of humanity's first words to alien civilization. "Message received. Help is coming. Hold the line. Far across the galaxy, the Furian colony administrator, Vera Quillen, stared at her communication screen in disbelief. After days of silence, someone had finally answered their desperate call. But the response came from an unknown source, not the Altarian Defense Coalition. Administrator, the signal originated from sector designation Sol 3, her communication officer reported. There are no known species in that region. Vera felt a mixture of hope and confusion. Who were these mysterious rescuers? How had they received a message meant for the Altarian Defense Coalition? Could unknown aliens really cross the vast distances of space to help strangers? Back on Luna Station, Jake watched the stars through the observation deck. Somewhere out there, millions of alien civilians waited for rescue. Earth had just made its first promise to another species. Now, humanity had to figure out how to keep that promise. Admiral Peterson was already mobilizing resources. Emergency sessions were being called with world leaders. The experimental deep space fleet was being prepared for its first real mission. Volunteers were stepping forward faster than they could be processed. "Dr. Carter," Jake called out, "keep monitoring their frequency. I want to know everything that's happening out there." Lisa nodded and returned to her console. She was already picking up additional transmissions from the Kepler system. The situation was deteriorating rapidly. Coretec forces were moving closer to the planet. Refugee ships were being destroyed, attempting to break the blockade. Time was running out. As Jake looked out at the stars, he wondered if Earth was making a terrible mistake. Humanity had no experience with interstellar warfare. They knew nothing about these alien species or their capabilities. They were about to enter a key conflict that could destroy them. But the alternative was unthinkable. Letting innocent people die when Earth had the power to help violated everything humans believed in. The message had reached Earth by accident, but Jake was beginning to think it might have been the most important accident in galactic history. The distress call continued to pulse through the communication arrays. 3 million lives counting down, an unknown enemy to face, and humanity's first chance to prove what kind of species they really were. The rescue mission was about to begin. The emergency meeting room beneath the Pentagon had never held so many world leaders at once. President Kate Sullivan looked around the table at faces she had only seen on television screens before today. Premier Chen Wei from China sat next to Chancellor Ahmed Hassan from Germany. Representatives from Russia, India, Japan, Brazil, and dozens of other nations had arrived within hours of receiving the classified briefing. "Ladies and gentlemen," President Sullivan began, 12 hours ago, we received our first communication from an alien species. They're asking for help." The room erupted in whispered conversations. Everyone had been told only that a global emergency required immediate attention. The truth was almost too incredible to believe. Admiral Peterson stood and activated the main display. The Furian distress call appeared in multiple languages, translated by Dr. Carter's team. 3 million civilians are trapped on this planet. They have less than 60 hours before enemy forces begin their final assault. Chancellor Hassan leaned forward. "Admiral, what exactly are you proposing? We have no ships capable of interstellar travel. We have no weapons designed for space warfare. We know nothing about these aliens or their enemies." "With respect, Chancellor, we have more than you think," Peterson replied. He pressed another button and classified schematics filled the screen. "For the past 20 years, a joint international project has been developing deep space capabilities. The UES Defiance and 6 sister ships are ready for deployment." The ships had been built in secret, using technology reverse-engineered from a crashed probe found in the Nevada desert decades earlier. Few people knew they existed. Even fewer knew they were operational. President Sullivan addressed the room. "We face a choice. We can ignore this message and let millions of innocent people die, or we can act. This decision will define humanity's place in the galactic galaxy." Premier Chen Wei spoke carefully. "If we intervene, we reveal ourselves to unknown alien civilizations. We could be making enemies of species far more advanced than ourselves." "If we don't intervene," replied Prime Minister Sarah Johnson from Australia, "we're telling the galaxy that Earth doesn't care about innocent lives. Is that really the first impression we want to make?" The debate continued for 2 hours. Some leaders worried about the risks, others argued that humanity had a moral obligation to help. But gradually, consensus emerged. Every nation would contribute to the rescue mission. Captain Dan Rivers had been expecting the call. The commander of the UES Defiance, he knew his ship would lead any deep space mission. What he hadn't expected was the scale of humanity's response. Within 24 hours, 17 ships were being prepared for departure, not just military vessels, but converted cargo haulers, mining ships, and research vessels. Dr. Amy Foster was assembling medical teams. Engineer Tony Garcia was retrofitting civilian equipment for combat use. Even Captain Nick Adams, who normally hauled supplies between Earth and Mars, volunteered his cargo ship. "Captain, you understand the mission parameters?" Admiral Peterson asked during the final briefing. "Yes, sir. Proceed Kepler 44C, engage hostile forces, and evacuate Cephirian civilians. Rules of engagement are to protect innocent lives by any means necessary." The Admiral nodded grimly. "Dan, we're sending you into unknown territory to fight an enemy